What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? This is the Pressplaypodcast. I'm your host, Drew, along with my co-host, Troy.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
All right, guys. Today we got a fun video. A video that's I don't really know how to describe it. It's gonna be a little bit of a different experience. We're gonna go over some hot takes, and we're gonna essentially rate if it's a hot take, if it's a mild take, if it's a cold take, and if it's a scorching hot take, something along those lines. I don't. We can kind of make up our own. Rankings as we go. There's no like set in
Yeah,
stone rank, but we're gonna go along with some of these that we have and give our ratings and give our assessment. Little bit of a change of pace from what we normally do, but I mean we kind of just want to try some different things, and this is one of those things.
yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, so we got a whole bunch of different hot takes to go over. I wish we had a bit more of an audience so we could have them, in on this too. But
One day.
yeah, one day. Right now we're gonna start it off with not every game needs to be open world. Linear games are better. Now I'll let you go ahead and answer that since I normally answer stuff first. Go ahead.
We can alternate. Like, you can answer the next one first, go
Okay.
back and forth. I mean, I would argue to say linear games are better. I mean, you can't really say linear is better than open world because they're two different genres, in my opinion. I would say that linear games back in the early 2000s and 2010s, I would argue they were a lot better because you played them for story. But, I mean, after Elden Ring, after Witcher, I mean, all these great open world games. I mean, if you want a game that you don't have time to invest in, linear games are good. Because, like The Witcher, 60 plus hours. I mean, if you have a family and work, I mean, you can play maybe an hour at a time. You just don't really get much story in only an hour. So I would argue, really, it depends person to person if they're better or not. Because I mean, they appeal to two different groups.
Mm-hmm. I don't think this is a hot take really at all. I think it depends more on the developer than the type of game, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have amazing experiences in either genre. You can have, like, The Last of Us, the first one, that's one of my favorite games of all time. It's a linear, hub like game. It's not open world by any means. And then take, for example, Skyrim or Oblivion. It's open world, and it's one of my favorite type of game. So it really just depends on the developer, I think, more so than anything. But if you're gonna go on the broad scale, just compare every like open world game coming out to every linear, I would say that linear are by far better than the open world games, at least in my opinion. I haven't enjoyed an open world game aside from Elden Ring and Ghost of Tsushima, like within the last, I don't know, 5 or so years. I guess Red Dead 2 we'll throw in there too. But aside from
Fair.
those, I guess Cyberpunk too, but it's kind of different. I mean, it is open world, but it's not open world in the sense of where there's just like, absolutely, ginormous. It's like open world, but it's a city. So I don't know. Like, that's me just nitpicking, but I think it's kind of a more crowded, open world.
Yeah,
Not
it's
a lot
not
of
open world in
variety.
the sense of like, yeah, like Red Dead,
Not
you can
like
do
with
just
the
about
game, but
anything.
just with like the exploration.
Yeah, and I mean, Red Dead is by all means. I mean, it has the wilderness and it has towns. You can pretty much do whatever you want. You can be a hunter.
Mountains,
You can be a bounty hunter.
Blackwater.
That to me is yeah. I mean, Cyberpunk is an open world, but to me, it's more so an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, though, you still do have to. There are side quests, but you do follow the main story most of the time.
Yeah, and I'm not dogging on it because I think it's one of the best RPGs made, in the last decade, and last 20 years. It's a really good game, especially with all the updates. I've yet to play the DLC, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. And at some point I'd like to get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's not even a hot take. What's your verdict?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a hot take. I think a lot of people would have the same opinions that we would.
Yeah, that's what I think too. All right, so now I'll go ahead and start this one off. The question is subscription services. Game Pass, PlayStation Plus are bad for gaming's future. We kind of had this conversation the other day, just me and you, when we were in the party. I It's a little bit of a hotter take. It's not necessarily cold. It's getting a little bit a lukewarm take. I personally do not like the subscription model, and that is just because I think that it it's good and it's bad. It's good in the sense of like it's good value for the customer, but it's bad in the sense of that it makes the games like the developers like who are signing on to it makes their product more lackluster, and then especially going forward because they're just going to think that they can throw out this half-assed product and they know they're going to get however much money they're going to get from the Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or whatever subscription service there is, and they're going to just bank on that instead of putting out the best product possible, where they have to put out the best product in order to get sales, which that's how they get the revenue. So that's just my take on it. Because you get games like Starfield. Starfield is Game Pass day one. It was, I think it's the first, like, maybe Halo. What is it? Halo Infinite, Halo 5, whatever. Halo 5, whatever it is.
Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one was on there. That game was regarded as a kind of a decent-ish game, and I know people love Forza. I don't really count. I mean, those games are always good for what they are. But overall, I just think it kind of hurts. And I know that's more of a niche, opinion, because everybody loves Game Pass, and I get it. Like, for the value right now, it's not like a bad deal, but I think it does hurt gaming's future. So, it's a little bit of a hotter take. It's not cold, but I'm not really on board with the subscription model. What say you?
I mean, I don't mind the subscription model because at the end of the day, you are paying for a service. And my fear is that if it was free, the servers wouldn't even be like good at all. I think it's kind of ridiculous though that they give you a subscription, but they won't let you vote on what games. So pretty much they give you free stuff, and most of the time, I mean, it's stuff no one wants anyways. But they're like, oh, you can pay $18 a month, and we'll give you like this indie racing game that's fun for maybe an hour. And so I think personally they should have another step of the fee where you don't get free games and stuff like that, but you just get online access and make it cheaper. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't want the free games, like if you just want to get on and play Call of Duty, Battlefield, like just play and talk to friends and don't want the free games, you shouldn't be forced to pay a higher price. Game Pass is good if you are like a budget gamer and you don't have a lot of money and you just want the subscription and then just some free games. Like, it's probably really good for like kids because you don't have to keep forking over money to buy your kids games. They have like a bunch of games on there. But I mean I had Game Pass, and I mean, there really wasn't anything too crazy on there like that I was like, oh wow, this is on here. I mean, there's some fun little indie games, like, how we played Uno the other night on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. They have little games like that are fun to just download and play with friends that you don't have to pay money for. Yeah. But it's just not good quality games, in my opinion, most of the time. I mean, there's a couple ones in there that you're like, all right, that's a good game. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, it's fluff.
No, that's exactly right. I don't know. I think what they should do with it, how they can remedy it, is they can take like games that are going to release day one and just not even include them on the Game Pass and just strictly do games. I don't know what the date would have to be, but do games that are at least like a year old or older, something like that, to where that way you can get the best of both worlds. The people can get their value on games, and then you don't have to worry, about the games going forward, half-assing their product in order to just meet the quota for the Game Pass or whatever, I think that's probably the best solution. I don't know. That's just kind of, my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like microtransactions, but like I said, I mean, if you're using the service, I feel like you do need to pay a subscription. It's kind of like paying taxes so that the roads are good. It's kind of like, yeah, if they were like, all right, we're not doing that anymore, the roads are going to kind of be terrible after a while. That's what's going to happen to the servers. They're not going to care because they're giving you some for free, and then I don't know. It'd be interesting because PlayStation 3 used to do that. PlayStation 3 used to have free, or at least you could play online and talk to friends without a subscription. But then they changed it so before, if you had the subscription, you just got free games. and they were good games. Like, they had 2K on there, they had, like, the Hitman games, I think, stuff like that. And then, once PS4 came out, well, then you had to start paying subscription price for parties and all that, which I didn't mind, but when the PS4 first came out, getting free games was nice because there wasn't anything to play on them. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I mean, the games they released were games that were like super hyped up and good like a year ago. They're faded. No one plays them anymore. So, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm kind of with you. I think it's like a lukewarm take. I think a lot of people would agree that I think the prices are too high. I'll say that.
I think we were kind of answering two different questions too. I think I was more just referencing like just the games in the catalogs, and you were throwing in like the online aspect. I wasn't even really alluding.
I got it. Okay. I didn't know what you meant because like Xbox, when you get live, you also get Game Pass. So I thought you meant the subscription as a whole. Yeah, I mean, no, PlayStation I think has
not the online, just like the games in the library.
I think PlayStation has a way better catalog than Xbox does. Mm-hmm. I mean, at PlayStation, Ghost of Tsushima,
Uncharted.
They have a Uncharted trilogy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they with those four. Yeah, Ratchet with those, you. Yeah, I mean, you pretty.
I'm done, but yeah, I can keep going.
You pretty much wipe out Xboxes because they're exclusive anymore. It's Halo.
Well, but they also bought Bethesda, so they have the Dooms, and then they have Bethesda, which, granted, they're not that great now, but you do have the back cat. Well, I mean, the games are cheap, though, like on PC or on any other console, like, because they're older anyway, so you can get them for $20 or less. So actually, it really isn't that crazy of a deal now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think PlayStation, you get more value for what you pay. And you pay about the same price.
For sure. You might get more value, but it's like just these little games, here and there. Like the only thing that comes to mind that I think of that would be cool to, that they don't have on PlayStation, they have on Xbox is like the State of Decay series. Like that's pretty cool they added that. But even then, it's not, like amazing,
It's not a game that you can ride the success on. Like, it's not going to make people get Xbox.
Some fun little, $20, $30 game isn't gonna have a whole subscription service, you wanting to pay. They keep raising the price of it, too. I don't know what the exact price is now, but it just keeps going up and up and up. And sure, like, we don't need to keep harping on it, but it might be worth it, like, if you don't have a lot of money. But, like, if you have any kind of decent job, like at the stages of our life, if you have any kind of moderately okay job, there's no reason to really have it because you can just buy any game you want, because it's not like there's games coming out left, right, and center that you want. This year, there's more so games that I'm excited for and ready to just pay for, but over the past couple of years, it's been a handful of games that I've even really contemplated buying.
Yeah, because I mean, you get most of them, so why even buy them? Unless it's something like MLB or something you're really excited for. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do that mainly just to support the developers.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what I do too. And we can go ahead and move on, but just to finish it up, I buy most of my games physically, and we're going to go into this later. There's another question about physical games and if they're, out on their way out, which isn't really like a hot take, but I try to buy all the games that I can for the most part, unless it like incentivizes you if you get a reward, digitally or something like that you don't get physically. I try to buy all my games physically still. I like to have my disc. I like to have the case. I like to put it on my shelf. And, you technically don't own the game, like, unless it's physical. So, because they, at any point in time, if your account gets banned or like, if they decide to wipe the game from like the PlayStation, I mean, they've done that to movies. Like, people have bought movies and stuff, and they just wipe them from like their library whenever they took the movies off PlayStation. It's stupid. But we can move on to the next topic. Nintendo gets a free pass on outdated hardware and anti-consumer practices. What's your take on that?
I mean, they get a pass in the sense of, like, you're not trying to run Battlefield or all these high-end games on a Nintendo device.
Yeah, they're going for a child demographic.
Yeah, like their games, Mario games and stuff, those run fine. And that's what they're intended to run. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna get, the brand. You're not gonna get the brand new Battlefield, brand new Call of Duty, or anything like that on the Switch with the intent of it being beautiful and the graphics amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you're gonna get that on a computer. You're gonna get that on Xbox or PlayStation, and so it's just kind of, I guess, almost ridiculous to me that people are like, "Oh, this game doesn't run great on the Switch," and I'm like, I get it if you can't afford a console, but
Mm-hmm.
if you get The Witcher on the Switch and then you're like, "Oh, it just doesn't look good," I don't know what to tell you.
Dude,
It wasn't made for the Switch.
no, like I agree with you. If it's the only console you have, like you're a kid and that's your only console, I understand. But like if you have any type of money, have any other console at all, you should only be using the Switch for exclusives, unless like there's a game that you really, really, really like. I mean, trying to play like for MLB for example on the Switch, I bought it the first year it got ported. I
Yep.
spent $10 on it, and I felt like I got ripped off spending the $10 because it ran so bad. Even the PSP was running baseball games better than the Switch ran MLB The Show, in my opinion. I thought the PSP ran it 10
Yeah.
times better. I used to play the Bigs too on my sister's PSP because I never owned one, but it ran smooth. It ran really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Switch, like I said again, was never intended to run those types of games. Like it, like I said, I mean, it's like, why would you buy, like, it'd be like buying Red Dead Redemption 2 on it and being like, wow, this doesn't look anything like they showed us on the trailer. I'm like, yeah, because the Switch's hardware is from what I think came out. Did it come out
Was it 20?
2016?
Was it 26? I thought it was like 2018, around that time somewhere.
Yeah,
And I know they
whenever it
have the
came out.
OLED or not the OLED, excuse me, the Switch 2. When is that coming out this year? Later sometime?
Yeah, now the Switch 2 is supposed to run way better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're really up in the hardware, so this question may not even be relevant whenever that one comes out.
Okay, I hope so.
But it's like I said, it's not. It came out 2017. It's not. You don't buy those. Yeah, you don't buy those games with the intent to play them on the Switch, because the Nintendo has been Konami, been Mario, Yu-Gi-Oh, like all those games, and like I appreciate them trying to bring those games over, which is why they've updated their hardware now. But I could never wrap my head around people buying a game like that and then being like, I can't believe how bad it runs.
Black Ops on the Wii.
And I'm like, that's MW2 on the Wii. Yeah, like it's terrible. And people still, they buy the games and they're like, oh, this isn't anything like it said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you expected from a family game
Ops
system.
3 on the 360, I think it was.
Yep, like it's terrible. So I don't really agree with. I think they do get a pass because, I mean, if you get an SNES and then you imagine trying to run a newer game on that, hardware's outdated. The SNES wasn't meant to run anything like Battlefield and all that. Which, if you could get it to run on it in general, well, I'd be impressed.
It's kind of unfair to throw a console that was made in like the 90s and say it can run a game nowadays, but I know.
I mean, you do PS2, you do PS3. You think a PS3 is going to run Elden Ring? That thing's going to catch fire.
You know what? I think it could if you really downgraded the graphics.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, if you wanted to play it that bad, I mean, I don't think graphics make a game.
No.
But I at least got to be able to see what's going on.
I agree. I think they do get a pass. I'm kind of in lockstep with him because the games they're coming out with aren't meant, to be for anything other than children or really hardcore fans. I mean, I'm not trying to, make anybody feel bad, but that's what it's designed for. There's nothing wrong with like a Mario or, any of those games or Splatoon, but you cannot deny the fact that it is designed with children in mind, for children and like, casual gamers, party games. So I think they do get a pass. I don't think it's a hot take. I guess I'm just not going to think a lot of these are really hot takes because it's just commonsensical to me. So
yeah. I feel like they're common sense to most people, but this day and age, you don't know.
No, you don't know, and there's people that like to argue just for argument's sake. So I'm sure we'll hear that in the comment section if we end up pissing off the wrong person. So
I hope
so too. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. AAA games rely too much on graphics and not enough on gameplay. Again,
Nowadays, yeah.
I absolutely agree with this. Not a hot take to me. Man, I'm just agreeing with
Now
everything.
nowadays, especially.
Oh yeah. Um, I mean, I guess I want to say Assassin's Creed, the new upcoming with Shadows, but I can't even really say that because the graphics aren't even that like crazy. So like I can't even really use that as an example. But yeah, just overall, like almost all the games are just graphics, 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 and they don't really care about the gameplay.
No, they don't. I think graphics are just a way to get fans sucked in, and I mean, Assassin's Creed. Imagine if Assassin's Creed could make a horrible game, which they do every year, but that's fine. That's a different topic.
Yeah.
And if you make it look stunning, I mean, best game ever, people are going to talk about that, and they're going to be like, well, the game just looks so realistic. Because they do that on every game now. And they'll get it, and then you know what the next stories are? I didn't really... This is why this game failed. And it's a never-ending cycle. That's why I kind of like MLB The Show.
Mm-hmm.
MLB The Show looks realistic, but it's not like over-the-top graphics. Yeah, like they focus on gameplay, which,
well, this
in my opinion,
on gameplay they haven't in the past.
Well, that's fair, but it's like if I wanted good graphics, I just watch a movie. Right. I mean, that's literally the graphics.
Yeah.
If I'm getting a game, I want to play the game. I want good gameplay so I can enjoy the game. I mean, Minecraft won best graphics of the year, like back in the early 2010s, because that's what the game was supposed to look like.
Yeah, art
that game's literally pixels.
Too. Art style.
Yeah.
This isn't even a hot topic, or excuse me, this might be a hot take, but it's not on here. But I definitely think art style matters. Like some people can like say the graphics and stuff aren't good, but art style definitely plays into it. Because if a game's not supposed to look amazing, and it's intended to not look amazing due to the art style, then that's just preference. Like Stardew Valley, for example, too. It's meant to look like that.
I mean, like the game I've been playing recently, Road 66. I mean, it's an indie game, but if the game was realistic graphics compared to the cartoony feel, I don't think it would work. No. So it's kind of like Borderlands. Can you imagine Borderlands, but it'd be like Call of Duty almost, just with insane guns.
I would think Borderlands is insane if it did that with realistic graphics. I agree, wholeheartedly.
I wouldn't like it at all. So
we're in lockstep there. Not even a hot take. Here we go. As I was alluding to earlier, oh, excuse me, there's one before. We'll just go ahead and go to this one, go to the next one next. This is the one I was alluding to earlier. Physical game copies are pointless in 2025. For me, no. Because I'm always going to be a physical collector. I'm always going to want my stuff physical. So I'm always going to say it has a point, even though I will concede to the fact that hardly anybody buys physical anymore. Only the true, super hardcore, people like me still buy it. And it sucks to admit that it's, dying and eventually we're not going to have, physical discs. So I'm going to defend it to the grave. But I will concede to the fact that, it makes sense why people are, saying that it is pointless to, still make physical discs. Which, I would even be okay if they discontinued it, but I want the games to reflect that in the price. If they're going to do that. That's the one caveat that I have for that. Because if you're going to be taking, the physical price it costs for the discs, to print the discs, for the design of the discs, and for, the cases and all that, and the shipping cost, then you got to let that reflect in the price and be 10, 15, whatever it is, dollars off, which they won't do. So that's why another reason I'm even more hardcore for physical, because it's just going to be a way that they can do less work and spend less money and get more profit.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like the discs, especially now that I'm older, so if somehow they break, I can go get a new one. Mm-hmm. But unless it's a collector's edition, the reason I don't buy them is just because I don't really want to store them.
It makes sense.
I mean, I have a really cool. I bought the Dark Souls 3 trilogy for the PS4. Mm-hmm. and it came in a dented case, which I wasn't happy about. But it's not like metal, but it's like plastic, but it looks metal.
Mhm.
And the case looks really cool, and you open it up, and it has all of them in it, and it has the art styles behind the discs.
Mhm.
Like, stuff like that's cool. I don't really like just buying the generic, like, oh, here's Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I
I get
just,
that.
if I had my own house and had like a theater room or something, then yeah, I would like that because you can do something creative with that. Right now, like, I mean, I would just put it on my bookshelf in the corner of my
I mean,
room
I don't
and
really have much
never
space for
touch
it
it again.
either, dude. I basically live in like a dorm room, so I don't hardly have any space for it either. But I just think like something I've always, you shouldn't be jealous or envious of people, but something I've always wanted just by seeing other people have is when they have the YouTube content creator set up and they have the big bookshelf in the background with all the games they've had throughout
Yeah,
their life. That's why I kind of like collecting them too, because one day I hope to do something like that.
yeah, and something like that. That's cool. I mean, that's kind of like an aesthetic of a game room or your career. But I mean, after like, if you don't have anything like that and you're just gonna stack them up next to your
Yeah, if you
console,
don't plan on doing something like that, I
yeah.
understand why you wouldn't want
I
to.
mean, unless you buy them used. If you get them used and you get them
That's
cheaper,
another reason because you can get
then
games
that's
usually at a
fine.
better discount. Like I'll go to Mercari and I'll buy games sometimes. Like I remember when Neo 2 came out, it's $60 on the PlayStation Store and like
Mm-hmm.
at like the retailers. But I bought it from Mercari for like 25 or $30. So it's just crazy. That was the Neo 2
Yeah,
remaster and Neo 1 remaster, or excuse me, Neo 2 with Neo 1. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it's the PS5 edition of both of them. That's what it was. Something like that. But like you can just find better deals physically. You always will be able to, and.
yeah, and I get that. That one makes sense. But like I said, I personally, I mean, I think one day, obviously, discs are gonna die. I mean,
Probably
I
gonna be
think it's
here
gonna be.
soon.
Well, I think it's one of those things though, where like it's gonna die, and then in 5 or 10 years, they're gonna be like, check out this like retro, like you can buy a game collector's edition with a
Mm,
disc again,
well, I
and
just
it's
don't.
gonna. I don't know why, because when discs are gone, they're probably gonna stop putting them on
Well,
consoles. So like you can own it, but what are you gonna put? Where are you gonna put it?
that
It's gonna be like vinyls. It'll be like vinyls.
well, what they do now, at least for some of them, like for the Spider-Man, the only reason I bought it was because the statue. It's still one of the coolest statues. But they didn't even
Yeah.
have a physical disc. They just had a freaking code that you get the game on. You get a steel book with no disc. Make that make sense. It doesn't.
Well, I
Why?
remember
Why?
they were starting to do that. They started doing that though with the manuals. You buy the game, but then the manual was gone. Which
I
I mean, you don't need it. They were
I
just kind of
liked
cool.
it.
Like Left 4 Dead 2's manual, that was cool because it had each
Yeah,
infected and
I
all
liked the
that. Like
books.
that was cool.
I liked the books a lot. You can and I'm not defending them because it's shitty. You should always keep what you're doing and keep it. But I will say for a lot of the games that you would want a guide for like the Elder Scrolls or like From Software games, you can buy the strategy books, and I kind of equate. It's not the same thing, but kind of the same thing. Like for Elden Ring, I have both of their books that came out. I have both of their guidebooks. So
Yeah, I wanted to buy them, but like
those books
that's
shoot up
also
in
just
price, so you should always buy the From Software guidebooks. I mean, dude, the Sekiro one, like in horrible condition. I've tried to buy it so many times in horrible condition. Sells for like almost $200. Like, dude, those books are like very valuable. Just another collector's thing, though. You don't need it because you can find all the videos. You can find all the information online for free from YouTube. But it's just a collector thing. So,
yeah.
um,
I mean they're cool, but the collectors thing mainly.
yep. So, all right, we kind of finished that one off. This is the last one in this category. This is just general hot takes. Um, Live service games are ruining the industry. I will probably have a little bit to say about this, but you can go right ahead and say your piece.
Live service meaning what?
So live service, so like games, like what's it called? Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout
Oh,
76,
like MMOs.
Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, kind of like
Gotcha.
that. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Games that are like meant to be like online, and where
Mhm.
you have to kind of like that. Yeah,
And the hot take is it's ruining gaming.
ruining the industry. Yeah, ruining gaming.
I mean, I think some of them are because I think a lot of them are cash grabs, hands down.
I
If
think
you take a
Fortnite would
great
count too.
MMO, huh?
I think Fortnite would count and Marvel Rivals. I think that's what it means by live service. All the stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay. Well, if you're talking about that, I mean, some of them are just cash grabs. I mean, Fortnite, obviously, you can love or hate it, but I mean, it revolutionized gaming for a little bit. Marvel Rivals, I would say, isn't a cash grab because
Hmm.
for as long as they've been out, they don't have that many costumes. And usually, games that come out that are free to play, I mean, they load up
No, Marvel
costumes.
Rivals gets they've done it about as good as you can for a free to play game, in my opinion. You can earn the currency just by
Yeah,
playing. I don't know one more
yeah,
game that you can do that on, unless you buy the
yeah.
battle pass.
So I think they do it well. But games like what was the one that came out? Was it just Marvel Heroes or something?
Rivals, there is.
Well, there's that superhero one that came out that was supposed to be an MMO or like a kind of like a looter shooter. I know Suicide
Oh,
Squad
Suicide
was,
Squad. Yeah.
but I thought was it Marvel? It was kind of like supposed to be like Marvel Alliance, I
Oh,
think.
Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers. That's what it was. Like I heard that game flopped hard. That was just a cash grab. I mean, they put superheroes in it so that people would buy it and be like, "Oh, I can't wait to play it." That's an example of a cash grab when you tie a
Mm-hmm.
big name to it and it's not a great game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for money.
No,
Those ruin the
absolutely.
industry.
Absolutely, because you'll have really good developers like Rocksteady that used to make the Batman games, and now they're over here trying to make, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and they're just doing a terrible job. They're coming out with this product that's just garbage, and they're trying to have a studio who made good story narrative driven games. Now, I will concede the fact that the two main people that worked at Rocksteady, they're out of there, so they're no longer there. But they left due in part because the people were wanting to do that kind of stuff and like completely like go away from what they were doing right, and I blame Warner Brothers or whoever made the decision at the top, because you should never have a studio that goes against what they've done their entire career unless it's like something they collectively really want to do or something. But I don't know why you would go ahead and just ruin your company by trying to do something that is probably not going to work. It's just I don't understand.
I mean, yeah, if you need to make a move to try to save your company, by all
Mm-hmm.
means, I mean, do what you got to do.
Right.
But I have never understood why some game, like, they just revolutionize their game almost like they just feel like it. And
Mm-hmm.
and it never ever leads to like anything good.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time. Very rarely it works, but it's like they go to bed and wake up and they're like, actually, well, let's do this for Battlefield. And then people are like, why? They're like, it was fine. I'll never understand it. I
I
don't
won't
even
either.
think most people understand it. So
I don't think so either. Now we can move on to more like franchise specific. We can do a couple of these and then maybe do a few wild card ones. So we both like From Software, so I'll go ahead and we can do that one. And the question is, Elden Ring isn't even the best Souls game. Um, I think it's a hot take, even though it's not really a hot take, because I think it's so subjective. Like everybody has their own opinion, and you really can't go wrong with any Souls like game. Because like for me, Sekiro is my favorite, and it's not even a Souls game technically, but I mean it's a Souls born genre. But
yeah,
I think you have it's a hot take because Elden Ring, I think objectively, if you look at it from a bird's eye view, is the best. Not because just like what's in the game, but because what it did for the gaming landscape. I mean that From Software is always going to be known from here on out, not even from Dark Souls, but for Elden Ring. So to say
Yeah.
that it's not their best game, I think isn't correct. I think it is their best game. You might like something better and might prefer something better, which is fine if you like Bloodborne, if you like the Dark Souls, hell, if you even like Demon Souls. People can't debate what your favorite is and what you enjoy the most. But overall, like top to bottom, their best game, I think, is Elden Ring. So I think it's a hot take just because of looking at it like from that lens.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Elden Ring is the best Souls game for two reasons. One, it has that Dark Souls theme, so people that played Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all those, they relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's every Souls-like game just on a bigger scale. I mean, massive maps. I mean, you don't have to fight the main boss. I mean, you can go fight 15 side bosses before you even get to the main boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fun thing about exploring it from the beginning was I didn't know if this was a actual boss or if this wasn't. Like I had to eventually I hit kind of a point where I didn't know where to go,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to look up who was the next boss, and then
Right.
that's when I found the main boss.
Yeah,
So in some of them I was like, yeah, I did fight that guy already, and some I was like, I haven't even seen them or know where to go look for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the best because I mean replay value, and I mean just overall you can get lost in the world. It's almost like Lord of the Rings or Hobbit. In all honesty, you can just get lost in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not even that monstrous of a world. They just have so much to do in that world that they have.
Yeah.
So.
Which, once again, that's what makes those types of games good. Is there's just so much to do.
Yeah. So
Open world game.
I think we can both agree that that is, probably the hottest take so far. Not because people are wrong if they don't think it, but because just of the presence that Elden Ring kind of holds in the gaming sphere.
And yeah, 100%.
All right, here we go. We can piggyback off our I know we filmed another one and it didn't go great. Maybe we'll throw that out someday in a blooper video if we ever hit a certain subscriber goal or something. But the most recent podcast that came out was about Call of Duty, and this one is about Call of Duty. So we can kind of harp on it just very lightly, and then we can move on. So this one is about Call of Duty, obviously, and it says Warzone killed COD's innovation. What do you think?
I don't know if it is the reason COD's innovation died.
Mm-hmm.
I think COD's problem is they were the only ones they competed with was Battlefield, and then Battlefield started to suck, and then COD was left. And I think COD just kind of got so used to, well, I don't have to be innovative. I don't have to do any of this because the fans are going to buy it. So I think comfort killed their innovation. Like they had no competition. They just they throw out a game and be like, well, if they don't like it, next year they'll buy it again and they'll try out that one. Maybe it'll be different. I don't think Warzone had anything to do with it. I think Warzone was innovative. Now I think it's just kind of terrible because they let hackers and everything take over for a while. So, I mean, Warzone was a cash grab, hands down. That's what it was for. And when it first came out, I had a lot of fun. Now, in my opinion, there's too many guns. The skins skins can be fun, but when you see Nicki Minaj running around and Snoop Dogg, it's just kind of like, it's just, I don't know. You feel like you're playing Fortnite again without the building, like zero build Fortnite.
You do.
And that's the other thing with the graphics. COD's supposed to be realistic. So Fortnite can get away with, the MLB players, NBA players, like all these different characters because they're cartooned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. In COD, though, when you see that stuff, you're like, what is this? And they even had some anime, like, not actual anime characters, but they had characters that had, like, an anime filter on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you put that into a realistic world, one, you stick out like a sore thumb. And two, I just don't, I don't know, it's weird. To me, it's just weird.
It is. It's very weird. I agree with everything you said. And I don't think you're necessarily wrong, but I do disagree in the sense of I think it did. Well, I think it might not have necessarily directly killed COD, but I think it played a big part in it just because of the fact that that Warzone was their sole focus after it came out. They put everything they had into Warzone and disregarded the multiplayer and zombies entirely. That is like why I disagree. Because you think about it, ever since 2019, excuse me, whenever Warzone came out, they have horrible maps in the multiplayer. Their story has been whatever. I don't play the story, so I can't really even it's a COD story. It's whatever. But the multiplayer has suffered. The zombies has suffered. And they just focus everything on Warzone. It's all around Warzone. I mean, hell, they even put the multiplayer loadouts in Warzone. You can get your multiplayer loadout in Warzone in like you can buy it. So it just all goes back to them focusing on Warzone, and I think that's I think it really did kill COD's innovation, not like directly because the game would kill it, but because that's where they put all their focus into.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
So I do disagree, but it's nothing to do with what you said. It's just looking at it from like a different perspective. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the same idea, just different angles.
mm-hmm. I guess we can finish it there, unless you want to talk about Smash Bros. I don't really play it, so
I haven't played it in like 4 years.
yeah, I don't.
So.
Okay, that's go ahead and good to skip that. Okay, so now we're going into wild card, like just off the wall, I guess, just random takes.
Yeah,
Most remakes are lazy cash grabs. Um,
I'd agree.
you do?
I'd agree most of them. There are some that are like new graphics and they are made and they look good. There are some like I love the Sly Cooper series.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is different in those games. Like it is literally, but they only charge $10. I think it really depends when you call it a cash grab how much they charge you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if they're charging you like I'd say for a remake that nothing's changed, anything over 30 is a cash grab. And I would argue even maybe 30. I'd say 20 is where it should be. But I don't know. There have been some good remakes, but I mean, it depends on the company that makes them. There's some companies that re-release stuff. I mean, like COD, they re-released MW2. They didn't put multiplayer in it. They just released the campaign and charged, I think, $40.
Yeah, it was something like that. But we all know why they did it, because they know that everybody would be playing that instead of their new game, and they wouldn't be getting all their monetization that they want. We know why they did that.
I mean, that was a cash grab and a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there's some, I mean, I can't think of any super good remakes. I'm sure you could name a few, and
Silent Hill is a good one.
I haven't played it yet. I heard that one's good. That one being $60, I get. Also, I think length of time since it's been out.
Yeah, I agree.
Came out a long time ago.
I don't consider it a remake unless it's like a completely from the ground up thing. It's a remaster to me unless it is like the Days Gone remake, that it's $10, so I'm not gonna give them grief, and I already pre-ordered it. But it's a remaster. It is not a remake. You can't have a game be from the PS4 and be a remake. Like, it isn't. That's not a thing. I'm trying to think. Horizon Zero Dawn remake. Mm-hmm. We'll go with that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the graphics are better and the gameplay's better. I played it for like 10 minutes just to, it was a $10 upgrade, so I'm not, harping it in that if you already have the game. I think that's fine to do a $10 upgrade. But we're really, kind of losing the term remake. Like, it's really starting to lose its meaning. So.
Yeah. It's getting confusing, too, because now you have, is it a remake or a re-release? And
yeah.
I don't know.
I can't even...
I think if you...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think if you remake a game, there has to be noticeable, at least graphic changes. I mean, the Sly Cooper series is cartoony, so it's kind of like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Mm-hmm. But you can still kind of clean it up a little bit, I feel. But also, like I said, the game was $10. I knew it wasn't going to be improved graphics, anything like that. Like, it is just a re-release for the PS5. So I was fine with that. I was like, $10 for like my childhood game. I was like,
No,
whatever,
absolutely.
perfect.
And they did the same thing with The Witcher. They got an upgrade from PS4, but I can't remember exactly, but I think they called it a remake, and it's like it's really good and it's an upgrade, but I just don't understand why they have to, because to me a remake is like a completely like new thing, or the game's like really old and it's getting modernized. It's not from PS4 to PS5. That's a remaster. So,
I agree.
um, if we're throwing the term remake around, I think, ultimately it just depends, I guess, on the price of it is what it all boils down to, like you said at the beginning.
Yep.
And I guess I'll just leave it at that. So, depending on what lens you're looking through, it's either a hot take or it's not. But I don't really necessarily think it's a hot take to say that remakes. Well, I guess if you're gonna say that they're just lazy cash grabs, I mean, I guess really it I don't know, because there's some games that I like playing through, and to spend $10 to make it run better, I guess it probably would be considered to some cash grab. But like for me, going back like through Ghost of Tsushima again, upgraded, and going back through like Last of Us, that was a remake, which it came out on the PS3, but then it also came out on the PS4. So like, yeah, I'm gonna say it probably is a cash grab, but I'm not gonna necessarily say it was lazy, because I feel like, I mean, I had so much fun with that one. I oh my god, I loved it. That's one of my favorite remakes ever. But it really just depends on the studio and the price, I guess, because it didn't have multiplayer and they're charging the full price, for it. So
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I'd agree entirely on that.
so. Um, Achievements and trophies are pointless is another question. I couldn't disagree anymore. I think this is a scorching hot take, because there's some games that I don't enjoy, but like I will just play just for trophies. Like, not I'm not like the people buying My Name is Mayo or games like that. But there are some times where I've been close to like platinum in a game and I don't even like the game, but I will go through it just to get trophies. Not really so much recently in the past couple of years, but there was a while there where I did. And I think trophies can add so much to certain games, especially the Soulsborne games. Granted, there's some exceptions, obviously, but for the most part, I think they add a lot to games, and you really, I feel like, get your value out of most games when you get that platinum, and also it's just kind of a neat little flex too.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're entirely. It's more. It's kind of rare to be a trophy hunter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that used to be cool with the PS3, with the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
There are still people around. I try to platinum some games. My problem is, though, I try to just grind it out, and I can't, and I get burnt out, and then I stop. Like Days Gone, I was getting there, and then I got burnt out, and then shortly after, I was like, well, I'll just take a break from it. Then they released their remastering it, so I was like, well, no sense in platinuming the old one. They're just going to have the new one, so
Right.
that was probably one of the closest ones I ever got to platinuming. Technically, the only one I ever 100%ed was Apex, but I mean, that's a multiplayer game. That doesn't count.
No. So I don't know. I don't think they're pointless. I think they can be, but overall, like for the games that I play, I like them. I think it's gaming's better with them. So
I'd agree. I mean, I think they serve a purpose for collectors. If you don't play single player games or don't really care, I mean, they are pointless, but you don't notice them most of the time, anyways. If you're not trying to get the achievements, so
oh god, this is probably gonna grind some people's gears. PC gaming isn't superior. It's just expensive gatekeeping.
uh, I don't really think it's gatekeeping anymore. Except for there's a couple indie games I want to play that are only on the PC. I don't know. I feel like anymore
Survival
the PC's
games.
almost, huh?
Survival games and then mods. So I mean, it does to an
Yeah,
extent, but it's
it
getting more to where
gatekeeps
it's
those.
not.
Yeah, it's almost like a lot of the indie games that end up on console. They go through a trial run on the PC, and when they see how successful they are, then they come to console anyways. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the PC just trial runs this stuff. And I mean, you get all the hype and everything when they first come out,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually, I mean, Phasmophobia, that was a PC only game. Now it's on console.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
I
I mean, I don't
completely
know.
agree.
It can be expensive, and not everyone can afford it. But I mean, by all means, if you're not gonna be playing super high end Battlefield, Call of Duty, nothing like that, I mean, you can find a budget PC that will run those survival games and stuff.
Right.
You don't have to. You're not flexing on anybody by paying $2,300 for just your PC tower. Like,
No.
most people aren't gonna care. I spent $500 on my PS5, and it plays the games I wanted to play, and I get to play with friends. That's all I wanted. So you're not gonna flex on me by saying you went out and spent like $1,900 more than me. Like,
No.
I don't care.
And I'm coming from a place of where I have not like the top end by any means, but I have a decent. Well, it's not as decent at this point, but I mean it's a new. It was probably like retail. If I weren't to like build it myself, it probably would have been a $2,500, $3,000 PC. And I ended up, spending just under $1,000 just buying the parts all on Black Friday. So I saved a pretty good chunk of money, and I'm coming from a place where I have the PC and I still prefer to play my console because I like not having to download games. I just really don't like gaming on a PC. I'm just gonna be honest. I will if there's stuff I really really want to play. Like when Sky Oblivion comes out, I will definitely be playing that. And if there's like survival games that I really 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 want to try, or if I want to play older games that I don't have access to on my consoles, I'll use my PC. But other than that, I really don't have any want to be on my PC and game because it's just not how I prefer to play. I always prefer just being able to start up a party on the PlayStation, talk to my buddies, and then just load up the game because it doesn't run that much better on my PC. Like in all honesty, I mean, what you get like some more frames and you get a game that looks slightly like better. Like unless you're spending like $10,000 on a PC, I really don't think it's gonna look that much different, just marginally.
Yeah, I mean, plus also like sports games. I'm not buying a sports game on PC.
No, I don't know why you
I
would. Because with the PC, you get more like way sweatier players to play, and you get more like cheating because people can hack in. PC is notorious for cheating. Like I mean, if people like it, I'm not gonna sit there and like dog them. You like what you like, but for somebody who like you shouldn't act like you're better than anybody else because you like playing on a certain console. I mean, the Xbox and PlayStation fight is always fun, and I mean it's not even close. PlayStation's way better, but also like PlayStation slowly like they're really like hurting now. Like they're kind of falling off, and it's due not even because Xbox is being bad, but it's just due to like the lack of competition because there's just no competition.
yeah.
I know that wasn't a topic of discussion, but it just I don't know it kind of came to my mind. But
No, I mean you're right.
PC is superior in some ways, but I don't think it's this grandiose thing that people make it out to be. Like the PC gamers that are
Mm-hmm.
just act snobby. I mean, but it is what it is. It's personal
The
preference.
Yeah, I mean the only games I've ever wanted to play that were only
It's
on.
better with VR though. I will give it to. It's way better with VR than PlayStation VR.
I will say VR is better, but the realistic shooters, in my opinion, are way better.
Oh yeah.
Which they're really only on there. I mean, they have like War of Rights, which is a Civil War game.
Mm-hmm.
They have they had Hell Let Loose, but now that's on console. The new one is Foxhole, and that's like a bird's eye view perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but the battles are like in real time. So there's not like a 30-minute battle. It's like you could fight over this same point. You could play in the evening, get off, go to bed, go to work the next day and come back and you guys would still be in the same spot potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean that one's only like $30. But
right.
There's games like that I think are just cool. But games like that work way better on PC cuz a mouse and
right.
keyboard. Like some games they just shouldn't be on console.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they don't port over well. It is an absolute nightmare. Leave them on PC.
So I'll give this one, it's half hot because, partly it's just PC, snobs just, looking down from their ivory PC tower, pun intended, on people. And then I will, though, give the PC its credence. It is better in some aspects, like the VR. It's better, and just that you have access to everything. And it is so much better when it comes to being able to play, older games, backwards compatible, because you can literally play games that came out in like 90 and like make them look so good. Like with the mods and
Oh,
just with your PC, like, so it has its benefits. It's PC is a good gig. It's a good deal, but
oh, hands
just
down. I'm not gonna say.
modern
Yeah,
gaming wise, it's not night and day different like they make it out to be.
no.
So,
It used to be, just
or
not
it
really
used to
anymore.
be, but it depends game to game. Maybe when we get to GTA 6, we can recross this bridge and see how it holds up on a really good PC versus seeing how well it holds up on PS5 Pro, or
Yeah.
whatever other console. So it'll be fun to see cross that bridge when we get there. Twitch and YouTube killed traditional gaming journalism. I agree. I think gaming. I don't think they necessarily killed them. I think the gaming journalists have done it to themselves because they've been dishonest with how games actually are. Because if they want to stay in the good graces of a company, if they want to get invited to parties, if they want to get early access codes, if they want to get the game for free, they're going to sit there and say good stuff, or they could have been paid off by the person too. Whereas when you have Twitch and YouTubers, yeah, you're going to have that from time to time where they're paid off, but you're going to be a lot more likely to see people actually speak their mind, like on those platforms, other than just like the gaming journalists. And not that every gaming journalist is bad, but you just can't really take their word for it anymore. You can't really take that many journalists, even in any facet of life, really, at face value anymore, because what do people do? They just tell you what whoever is in charge of them wants you to hear, and not normally what they actually believe about the product. So this might be a hot topic for some people. You can take Avowed, for instance. Avowed's getting a lot of good reviews, but all the people I've seen playing the game, they're not saying it's a bad game, but they're not acting like it's this 8, 9 out of 10 like a lot of the journalists are saying. They're saying it's a 6. Anywhere from a 5 to like a 7 game. They're like, it's an okay game. It's a game that I can have some fun in, but it's not this amazing product like they're making out to believe. And that's just one example, but that's the first thing that came to mind for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is paid off anymore. I mean, Twitch especially, YouTube. It's easier to hype up stuff when you can just edit it and make it a 12-minute clip or episode. But I think it's done a lot as well to get games out there. But it's kind of like the whole fake news thing, where like some people be like, but also gaming's so subjective that like the new Doom that's coming out, Doom Dark Ages, you could absolutely love it, and I could play it the exact same side by side with you, and I can be like, this sucks.
True.
And no matter how much you hype it up or talk to other people about it, I may never enjoy it. And so that's the other thing, is it's like they are paid. Of course they're paid. Why else would they be doing it? It's their job. But it's kind of like some of the times I feel like they give it honest reviews and people still don't like it because it's not their type of game. It's like, again, Dark Souls. Not everyone likes the Souls games, but they like Elden Ring. I'm guessing it's the open world aspect, but it's kind of like that. It's hard to say. Obviously, like I said, a lot of them are paid.
Yeah.
That's their job, their career. They also usually get to play the game early, so you can't tell me they're not paid to talk well about it. No one's going to let someone play their game early.
To fly to play it too. It's not like they just usually send it to them at home.
And no one's going, like I said, no one's going to pay you to play their game for you to be like, this game sucks. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever played. Like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
No.
So that's the other thing, is it's gonna. You have to be able to kind of understand what's paid and what's honest. And I feel like if you find just some people who play the game with their friends for fun online, I feel like those are accurate representations of what the gameplay actually looks like.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. They didn't. Twitch and YouTube didn't necessarily kill gaming journalism. They kind of just did it to themselves, and those are just platforms to where other voices can, be heard. Aside from just, obviously the people who are paid off or get benefits from, those companies that are reviewing the game. So I think
Mhm.
that does it. Unless you have anything else to add.
I got nothing. I feel like we went through a lot this episode, so
No, if this
it's
does
fun.
well, you guys can definitely look out for another one of these style of podcasts. Fun to do. It gets us to think, but we're not having to really like sit and like deep dive into anything. We kind of just give off the cuff, answers. It's pretty basic stuff, and yeah. So let us know down in the comment section below what you guys think. And we will be back at you next week with another episode. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy. And we will see you next week. Thank you guys. Take it easy. Peace out.
Yep, you guys have a good one.